Hi, my name is Devin Wilson. I am a student in the CSCI 7 Intro to Python course for the summer of 2019. This year, for the final project, we were challenged to push our knowledge of coding a little bit further, and something I was interested in was creating a system where essentially you would be interacting back and forth with the computer and able to complete some actions or different things like that based upon the response. And kind of tied to that, I enjoyed doing something where we played with functions within a fantasy library that was kind of meant to be a sword and sandal type of situation. And so anyway, I wanted to play on that, go a little bit further, taking the shop from that and attempt to try to automate it. Because in the initial file itself, you could buy things from the shop by typing in code and stuff like that, such as things to complete a transaction, which we'll see in a bit. But I wanted to set it up so somebody with no experience from code could access and interact with this shop. So let me show you what I've developed so far. So first off, something I would point out, I'm actually happy that I was able to make a small revision to the fantasy library that was developed for class. And the reason for that was there was one item that when I tried to buy with exactly 100 of the currency and the money in the game, in the code, for some reason it wasn't letting me buy a 100 priced item. And so I looked back and I was able to find that here we have this line of code. If buyer money is greater than cost, then essentially allow to append the item and take the money out. But really this should be greater or equal than. So a very small revision that would allow you to buy something with the exact amount of money for. Now let's go over to my library and just to provide some notes about it for first. So this is kind of what I started with, very basic expressions, type something, blah, and then it ends like that. And that's, in terms of what I was able to find online and stuff like that, that's the vast majority of examples would kind of stop there. And then, so I was trying to do something where, there could be a few different options and that you would reply to the different options and get different print statements back. Let me first... So I think to make this work, actually, I'm gonna update. Okay, so here we go. Now we have it up and running. So you can see what's interesting is if I do this sort of if, else, and I type the first one, hello there, traveling rogue, what does thee seek? And then I type, I seek knowledge. The response comes back, I know nothing. But if I wrote, I wish to buy goods, I know nothing. So I was a little bit confused why this was happening, that, it should have, in my initial pass, I thought it should have picked up that it wasn't I seek knowledge, and so it would have gone down to here, and then it would have printed something else. After working with it and talking about possible ways to take this on with a few TAs, talking with Richard a little bit specifically, he kind of shared with me the idea of setting the input equal to something, and that might be helpful for trying to move further with this. So here we see I started to set input equal to result, and then from here I was able to go and make some booleans. If result equals this, print this. Elif, if result equals this, print this. Elif, if it's equal to this, print this. And then else, something that just kind of closes out the transaction. So that started to work better. So yeah, I started doing that, and then I wanted to take it a bit further and have multiple layers of input. And so here we see and we have this higher result, and then I wish to buy goods is one that I wanted to have increased levels of dialogue. So I added in this result underscore buy equals input, which then added a next round. But here I thought, this is already pretty good. This is essentially getting down what I want, that I could tell. You could write things like buy a short sword, buy a great axe, etc. But I thought, this is stopping a little bit short in terms of it's not actually doing the transaction. So here I kind of worked it out. So let's see. So if in the second wave, when you were asked what you wanted to buy, you wrote a short sword, that it would then conduct the transaction. But then kind of what was interesting is if earlier I had the print up before this, and if there wasn't enough money, it would both print the message that I wanted to say next, as well as there's not enough money. So I had to move the if, checking to see if the weapon was there, and then if it was there, have some line that associates with the weapon. In this case, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, a Zelda reference to acquiring a sword. So that's something that I had to play with and tinker with a little bit further. And so, so let me show you how this works. So, starting from the top, let's go ahead and import in the fantasy library that I worked out. We're gonna make an avatar, who we'll call Daigoth the Mighty. Make the shop. Okay, and then just to show you kind of where we are right now, we'll do a print inventory for the shop, so you can see the shop has these different weapons in stock, and we'll do a print inventory for the avatar, seeing that right now the only weapon the avatar has is a dagger. So first, hopefully this all right, so let's talk to the shop owner. Hello there, traveling rogue. What does thee seek? So here we could have the opportunity to type one of the following. So let's start from the top. I seek knowledge. To which the shop owner replies, I'm new here, I don't know much, but I'm intrigued by the presence of an old wizard to the northeast of town. And I put this here as the type of reference you might get in an RPG game where you talk to the right person and find that you have that hint of what to do next or where to go. Let's see. What if you said, actually we'll start with the second one first. So I wish to buy goods. To which, this is what I was describing earlier, the second round of input comes in, and it says, well, you've come to the right place. What would you like? Now let's try for short sword. Daigoth the Mighty has exactly 100, so ideally, changing up the fantasy library, this should go through now. To which the shop owner says, it's dangerous to go alone, take this. And then if we look at the inventory for Daigoth, we see money going down to 0 and the short sword added. And yeah, so you could do the same for different things. Who's ever looking at my final project as a project, you could go through and look at some of the specifics. The last, somewhat humorous, you could say. Okay, not working at the moment. Let me clear the kernel. I know sometimes the input kind of overloads the computer a little bit. Okay, so then, okay, we're back. If I said, seek to use the toilet, of course, the shop owner would respond with the most logical response for at least the greater Cambridge area. There's no public restroom here, but you can use this. You can go across the street to the Starbucks. Yeah, and anyway, so to anyone who is interested in playing around with this, there's a few other different references to different fantasy and sci-fi movies. To me, this gave me hope, because eventually I would like to take the creating your own game course, and I am interested in RPGs and this sort of thing. And in doing this, I see that the basic constructs for dialogues that exist in any sort of RPG till today really can be developed with this sort of code. So it was exciting to think, begin to think about storytelling and things that I could do through creating different characters and different sets of dialogues and responses and such. So yeah, that's what I've worked on for this project, and I look forward to using this code in the future, ideally in developing games and such. So thank you.